Tēnei te mihi atu ki a koutou, kua tai mai nei ki te tautoko te kaupapa o tēnei wā. Ko te tūmanako, he pai te whakawhiti kōrero i wainganui i a tātou, nō reira tēnā koutou katoa. Talo Faleafa again and welcome back from both lunch and the opportunity to thaw outside. I don't know about you, but where we're sitting, it's like the industrial freezers over at Tegel. Thank you for Mosa. My name is Eri Tuiavi'i, as the fabulous acclaimed MC has pointed out, from Te Kaunihera o Tāmaki Makaurau or Auckland Council. But Kao, this is not a political panel on the mayoral candidates here in Tāmaki. Although I'd like to remind you that your ballots should be in the mail, and if you haven't received them, they will arrive on the third day of the 9th moon of the third millennium, because New Zealand Post. Before I keep going, I'm going to invite our panelists to come forward. You've been given ample warning. We told you at lunchtime who you are, so please come forward. I see two gents there at the front there, Rhys and Eli. Hone should be floating around somewhere. And then Koreniti. Kori? Cool. Cool. So because we're in the spirit of self-diagnosis, the last gentleman was an introvert. I have ADHD. I'd like to remind you all of the kaupapa. So today's kaupapa, among many things, focuses on creating equitable outcomes for Māori and Pasifika businesses by unlocking government procurement contract opportunities. If that is wrong, that was taken straight from the website. Today, in the interest of continuous improvement, we'll hear from a panel of Pasifika businesses and leaders about their lived experiences through Te Wānanui Kiwa lens. And although some of you are looking up here, because thank you TikTok, Rhys and Eli provide a riveting and rousing rendition of the haka. Actually, this is the Pasifika panel. The Māori one is to come, and I see my friend. Where's Glenn? Glenn's... Oh, kia ora. It's the other Glenn, but kapai e hoa. No, sorry, aroha mai, I mean that respectfully. Glenn from the Unitic days. But during this session, we want to hear important truths in the procurement process. So it is a safe space. And please, Formosa, pay your power bill, because the lights have gone off again. But we want to touch on the contractual relationships they've entered into. We want to hear about their experience. Yeah, it might be preaching to the choir. You might all be people that are embarking and engaging in the procurement process or the contractual management process, but there are others that are yet to embark, and it is a journey that my friend Rhys loves to remind me, and I agree. It is a hikoi, it is a journey. So we want to hear their whakaaro, we want to hear their kōrero about their experiences. And I suppose for me, taking a leaf out of Lawrence's book earlier in the day, and this might be for you, e hoa, Hone, I want to know whether council has a black book, because the government doesn't. I want to know whether we have one, but seeing that my general manager is in the audience, we may not get to that. And if I get fired after this, there's a room full of employers. Blaz, sponsor a child. And in no particular order, let's introduce our panel. To my far right is Hone Dalton, who is a strategic procurement and capability lead at Auckland Council. Tēnā koe e hoa. We have Rhys Faleafa to my immediate right, who is from First Civil, Malo Taulava, Malo e mea mai. We have Eli Tangi from We Accounting, so for mau malangi mama. And at last but not least, certainly the prettiest, Koreniti Corin, Steadfast Scaffolding, no mai haere mai kia ora e hoa. And where's my mate Tama? Evidently e hoa, none of them are from Ngāti Parau, but Ancestry.com, some of them may be. So I've acknowledged my GM, Liman Manu Kenneth Ailuputea, and also I'd like to acknowledge Nathaniel Yali Maiwai, who's my colleague, who both told me to do the session. So I'm not here by choice, I was voluntold. Back to our panel. I have some pre-prepared pārtai, but also we did circulate some pārtai to the panel for the session. But, you know, in the spirit of true navigation from Te Moana Nui a Kiwa, listen to the question, find your North Star, and just paddle your waka in whatever direction you want. Now, y'all have some really, really impressive bios, which I will take as read. But in the spirit of whakawhanaungatanga, tell us about your mahi and how it gives back to your proverbial village or your literal village. Let's start with Rhys. Your mic's already 6 inches off the table. Go ahead. Mic 3, please. Can the treble up, tenor down. One job. Shut, bro.
Kole ke whanga he ngahi whakatapu pē, kai ata moi ki motuani ke whaia ki whakahoha. Malole lei, my name is Rhys, Faleafa as said. First Civil is a small subcontracting, civil subcontractor in Auckland. We do work for some of the sponsors today, so it's good to be in front of you. We specialise in piling and retaining in small civil structural works. And it's really an honour to be here. I just wanted to acknowledge you all for being here, and I just wanted to, I was telling Eddie that this is a real privilege to be here because this is part of the journey. I always reflect back on when my father came from Tonga, how they were treated. You know, they were brutalised by the police, how growing up in New Zealand, we were called dumb bungas, coconuts, how we went to university and we bond with some of our brothers and we try to create a better future. And then, you know, we're now here and we're actually trying to change Aotearoa. And it's a real honour and privilege to be here. So I want to acknowledge you for being on this journey. And it is a journey and it's been a long journey. And there's a long way to go. So we're here now and let's, as Junior said, let's put some numbers to it and make it happen.
Malo Pito. Let's just go down the panel and my mate Eli, tell us about how your mahi adds value or gives back to your village, either in Apia or the diaspora throughout the motu.
Oh, I think first I'll just introduce myself if that's okay.
Go ahead, Azul.
Talo whalawa malo sufo maumalang ma, ngā mihi nui aroa ki a koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa. My name's Ali. I'm part of We Accounting. We've just been rebranded to We Mana. We're a business advisory, accounting business. We've got an office in Auckland, Wellington and in Samoa. Our purpose is to enhance the mana of our Māori and Pacific people. Just like the brother here, we did go to university and we played rugby together as well. You know, we've had trials as Pacific people throughout the ages, and what we want to do is build a better future for not just ourselves, but for our rangatahi that's coming through. Just also letting the Amotai and them know that we 50% owned by Māori wahine, so we can access the procurement to both sides, if that's okay. If you also see another guy that looks similar to me, that's my son, not my younger brother. But yeah, it's a privilege to be here. I got asked to be on, and I thought this is a great way to talk about our journey, because it is a journey, like Rhys mentioned. We've got, you know, it's great to have the step that we are now. We've got a long way to go. So yeah, sorry.
Malo Whaftai.
Yeah.
No,
So
you're
what
not
was your
star,
question?
brother. Hand it on. Go ahead.
No, sorry. What was the question again?
Oh, the question is, how does the work that you do, your mahi, your kaupapa, give back or contribute back to your village, either proverbial or literally? How does it give back to your ainga?
So, like I mentioned earlier, our purpose is to enhance the mana of Māori and Pacific people, and we do that by helping them in business. We understand that, you know, as Pacific people, travelling across the moana back in the ages, we were entrepreneurs. And now, you know, we're at a point now where we need to be the people that own the factories, not just work in the factories. So we want to empower our people to go out there, that there is more than just going to work for someone. There is the opportunity to build your own legacy for your people, your whānau. Because one of the things that I've learned over business over the last 11 years as a small business is that, you know, the struggle is real. But small business, you know, when you grow a small business, you're not only helping that business, you're helping the people that's in there, the community, these are the businesses that help to sponsor a lot of the rugby teams. And if we help to grow those small businesses, wouldn't it be awesome to have not just 30%, but 50% of our GDP coming from our small to medium enterprises? So, that's the mahi that I think we do for our businesses and for our people.
Malo whaftai.
Tailawa.
Tēnā koe e hoa.
Kia ora tātou. My name's Koriniti McKillop. I'm one of the co-owners and directors of Steadfast Scaffolding NZ. So we provide scaffolding services, not me, but the company does, provides the scaffolding services across residential and commercial sectors. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Kia ora. I'm Hone. I just want to make it clear, I'm not just Ngāpuhi, I'm Ngāti Parau. And
Do we have another panellist? Can we replace this guy? Malo, go ahead e hoa.
And Ngāti Maniapoto. But I'm also from Okoa, Vava'u, and Nukalofa and Tonga Tapu. So, and like Junior, I'm born and raised and developed in Otara. So, the role I'm in at the moment, how does that contribute to my village? So, I've always considered Otara a village anyway. For anyone who's in that area, they'll tell you it's the same. We are a village. But I think of my grandparents in the same situation, coming over the whole bunga coconut thing. I mean, that stuff's all real. I spent 20 years at Air New Zealand Engineering and Maintenance working in a private organisation and seeing how they operate. And I've used that time and skills to be in these spaces where we can, especially in council, be more accountable to what we're saying. So we're already, it's key to say that we're leading in those spaces, but what we really want to be doing is shifting those dials, and by having some strategies in place, department by department, that's what I'd like to see is that, a lot of that spend's going into those underserved communities. Kia ora.
Tēnā rawa te koutou. So, my limited EQ tells me that although we've got pre-prepared pātai, that it's always important to read the room and pivot where necessary. The statement here is, earlier today, either in monologue or whakaaro, I heard things like having the freedom to think, to act, to be innovative, to be able to pivot. And although this is not my trade is engagement, they're not necessarily kupu that I would associate with this kaupapa. Coming back to your kōrero, just there, I then ask you, you've now got skin in the game. You've developed businesses, you're mid-career, you're fully flourishing. But can I ask you, that journey, the magic word journey, was it mana enhancing, as you speak of? Does it reflect positively on our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents? Tell us a little bit about the journey to getting you to where you are now. Was it the things that you just spoke of fondly, or was it quite a different picture? Contestant number... Or feel free to pivot. If that's not the pātai you want to answer, just pivot.
Hello. The journey. It was, to be honest, I wasn't really wanting to take this journey. I'm a CA. I wanted to go down the normal route. Spent 20 years working in an accounting firm and then make a partner, or hope someone dies and so I can take that place. But, my wife said, no, we should try. And so, using what I did learn from the universities, we started up our firm. We started off as just your normal CA firm that wanted to work with just any business. But what we found was that probably 4 years into our business, we found that we had about 40% of our client business was Māori or Pacific, and they just came organically. And I think we will see a lot more of that. Our businesses want to work with and we need to see more of our people in there, especially up in those industries. It's great to see in Downer that we do have a Māori CFO. But I know that I work in the industry of the accounting industry, and it's a very wide industry. We are one of the few brown firms that are out there. We just spoke at a conference in Sydney about 2 or 3 weeks ago, 4,000 people, and there I could count in my hand the amount of brown people that were there. and that includes Māori. I see us as a way to help inspire, our rangatahi, our community to know that they can, I'm from Māngere, so just like Otara, I aspire to help our people, and I think a lot of our businesses here, if they can give back and help those up and coming, that's what we want to do. So that's my journey so far. Hopefully answered a little bit of your question. I did go on a little ramble.
That's
but
a 12 out of 10 also, mahalo.
That's a really tough question, Eddie. I don't. But yeah, in terms of the journey, like Ellie, I enjoy challenges. So this is like my 4th or 5th career. But I think what I've learned is leading with values and leading with putting people first is probably is a long-term way of creating value. But as well, it's actually really satisfying. And when you help people and see them develop and grow, and treating people, as people, it's what I wanted to talk about when we get onto contracts is, build relationships, as the other speakers have all said, Evan, Junior, but also it's actually invest authentically, because in the relationships, it's not a transaction. We're at a hui the other day and someone said, I emailed 60 Amotai companies and no one supplied a quote. And I was like, why would we supply? We don't even know who you are. Like why? It's about why. Why you? Why do we want to work together? We're all capable. We can do the work. It's about building relationships so we can work together. I think that's the first. Yeah. But that's for me in my journey. That's what I've learned is relationships first. Yeah.
I think in terms of my journey with the business, the most mana enhancing part to this journey has been the fact that we've been authentic through the whole duration. So we've led things, just as you say, Rhys, we've led things in a way that have felt tika to us, things that have led us down a path where we feel we haven't had to end up in a conflict of doing good business and doing business as Māori and Pasifika. So we've never felt that conflict where we've had to depart from being Māori, being Pasifika, and doing business really well. So I think for us, the whole mana enhancing process of starting a business and running a business has been that it's always been led in a way that's mana enhancing from the start. We've never deviated from who we are. And so, yeah, I would just contribute that part to this panel.
Kia ora.
I'm just noting in my mind, I'm a buyer. But I think from just hearing the stories here, is that's what I'm seeing too within our area inside council, is that there needs to be more that one-to-one relationship building, because that's where the wall is. Yeah. Good.
Well, let's pivot then to your role, Ihoa. I don't want the session to be solely about those that are outside our organisation. So in relation to your mahi at Te Kaunihera o Tāmaki Makaurau, the more Kaunihera diversifies in this space, the better for our people. Now, it's either a statement or a pātai, and I'm interested in your thoughts. And again, I bring to it the lens of it's not my space. But I've heard procurement today, I've heard social procurement, I've heard sustainable procurement, I've heard innovative procurement. Based on your day-to-day mahi at Kaunihera, how is that good for our people? Do you have any levers you can pull on to make it better for our people? Because it's important that I've heard before from the previous speaker, you don't just want this to be more hot air, you don't just want this to be another hui. So talk about the levers that you do have at your disposal.
Kia ora. So I will say, like, we've always had incremental changes that have gone upward, and we're contributing to supply diversity. But what's changing in this year is that we're going in department by department and talking at GM level, GM by GM. So what that'll mean is that the buy-in comes at that level, but also their teams are being held to account, and they're the subject matter experts in their space. So we put together plans, and we talk about deliberate, but I feel that's like a buzzword too now. So for me, it's just deliberate. For me, is that we're engaging each department by department, and then we put a plan in place, and we support them through a strategy of supply diversity. So that kind of answers what you're saying, right? And then the hope is that through a proper strategy, council's done some great things without they'll have strategies and plots, But what you want to have is strategies right across the board. And then that'll ensure that everything's getting a good run of it, and then you can review the data at the end of the year and see what you do next.
Kia ora, malo. Because we're down to one mic and we spent 15 minutes waiting for the mic to be passed, the boss has said we've got 5 minutes left. So again, let's pivot again. This has been the Pivot Kōrero. I hope you've enjoyed it. Speaking about authenticity, relationships, journey, in the next 12 months, if you could fix something along the journey, be it in your relationship with council, central government, what might it be? Or in the case of journeying, what does the next 12 months look like? Do we come back here and write our names on the awesome lanyards and stain our clothes again in 12 months and talk it, ngā mihi nui ki a koutou, great and innovative? Do we come back and do we essentially discuss the same things? Or do we come back and not here? Do we come back to an audience that's 4 times the size? Do we not go for 5%? Do we go for 50% in terms of procurement? What does the next 12 months look like? Or if not, what would you fix?
I think the next 12 months looks like all of those things that you just said. Specifically for me, it would be that we're not coming back to the table and having the same discussion. We're not talking about being intentional. We're not talking about being deliberate. We're not using all those key words. But instead, we're coming back and we're talking about all the changes that we've made in the last 12 months to better and to enhance the mana of all the businesses sitting here. One thing that I really thought, because I was hoping we were going to answer the questions you actually gave us, I was hoping
60 seconds, go ahead.
I was hoping that we could touch on the idea of currency and Māori and Pasifika ideology, and that currency isn't monetary. So for those of you in procurement, just understand that when we do price things, it's very holistic. And so pricing, because in a Māori context it's koha mai, koha atu, and generally in a Pasifika context it's by works of or actions, deeds, good deeds. And so those are very hard to monetize. We can't monetize manaakitanga, we can't monetize te akitanga. So when we are pricing, please come back to us and tell us where we are sitting in the spectrum of pricing. And if it's too cheap or if it's too expensive, actually just come back and tell us that rather than make us guess, because we will overthink and then we will do under something. So I think from the perspective of Māori and Pasifika, that pricing for profit can be very foreign and it can be really difficult. And it's probably scarier for those of us who are actually submitting than for those of you who have to read it. So that's all I wanted to say. Kia ora.
Kia ora.
12 months, it'll be great to see just all the small businesses that have actually gotten the help from council or anyone that gets procurement. We do, obviously we're not construction, and a lot of it is tied to construction. So it'll be really good to have procurement space for business services that are out there, because at the end of the day, you still need help with that running of that business. But yeah, like the wahine said earlier around the questions, one of the things that really we work with clients who are working with Amotai. It's just when they do get the procurement from a client, it's really a lot of work for that one client. And if you think about it, it's a client that may have 10 staff, so they go to work, then they have to come and fill out all those forms, whereas a big firm, you know, they'll have people doing that. So, you know, they're really against it, and then they end up just going back to the tried and true instead of giving those firms a chance. So it'll be great to see, you know, some data that comes out and see this is how many businesses we've actually helped, because we don't seem to see that. But also, you know, we work with a lot of businesses overseas, so we do RFPs with the government for the likes of working in the Pacific. And one of the issues I think we have is that I know that they've already got people that they've handpicked, but you still have to go through the process. So I'm not sure if that happens in the council, because it is quite a long process to go through a procurement process, and to know that you're not even going to get it would be good to know. So, you know, really getting those, getting out there and knowing that you've got an actual chance, or, you know, we're not wasting your time trying to fill out a procurement process. So yeah, it'll be great to see a lot more people being helped by the procurement state.
Kia ora.
in 12 months' time, I like what Junior said, which is just set some goals, put some numbers to it as best you can, and then just see how you're going. But underlying that is the operational stuff. So, for us, just a bit of background, we don't actually contract directly with any of the big government agencies. We go through head contractors. So, because we're a subcontractor, we're specialist, and we specialise in small parts of the job. But for us, it would be great to maybe get some pre-qualification with the council and maybe be put forward as a preferred subcontractor for some of the works. That would be helpful, and I'm sure there's a lot of subcontractors like us that would really help. The other one is if you do smaller packages, like we often see tenders for, it looks like a $10 million a job, and that would be 10 times the biggest job we've ever done. But if there's a like $100,000, $200,000, $300,000 job, that's something that's right in our sweet spot, and we do regularly. So it's about if you're trying to create change, how can you do it? Be deliberate, be innovative. I know it sounds like, just words, but it's how you operationalize it to make that change. And then obviously underlying that is the authentic engagement and relationship building. And so if you have a dedicated person, because that's the other thing that we don't know who to talk to half the time in these big organizations, and then people move around as well, so it's like, we're still here and we've got like 5 different people that we're supposed to speak to over the term of a contract. And finally, we've just done a submission recently. I'm not going to say who for. There's 400 pages of plans, and then there was 200 pages of health and safety, and there was a 120-page contract, and there was about 200 pages of specifications. And we tried to read it, and I don't really know what I signed or what I submitted, but it's pretty impossible to actually know what. And if you read the contract, like if you're a lawyer, you go, don't sign that thing because it's all on their side, So, but at the same time, we want to build a relationship and we want to put a foot forward. So, I guess there's a bit of give and take in the relationship building side, because that's very off-putting to us small businesses, because we got to manage our risk too, But yeah, that'll be, and measure it. Thanks.
Mana o pito, and hopefully your application to NASA goes well. Final word also. Anything to add? Essentially the guy with the power to change it all in 12 months. What do you have to say? Kidding.
Yeah, look, I just want to see us set our targets, at least just to start with. If we've got a strategy in place for this year, then there's no reason why it can't happen. There is a lot of money that circulates through council, and I think there's plenty of opportunity there. As far as like contacting, I think it's key to point out what Junior said, which is you do need a designated resource, and I've seen that across some of the other councils as well, or other organisations, is that it's kind of like an and thing, but it's not an and thing. You already know it's not. I don't need to explain that too far. So yeah, what I'd like to see is us to hit that 5% target at least, just to in the next 12 months.
Kia ora mai tātou. Aroha mai, that's all we have time for. Ho mai te paki paki.